everything that's going on Capitol Hill. Let me bring in right now the Republican from Illinois, Congressman Adam Kinzinger, is joining me now. Congressman, thanks so much for coming in.
You bet. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, your reaction to this news that's just developing of Nunes stepping aside from the Russia investigation in the House. What's your take?
Well, so look, I know Devin. I know he's a very honorable guy, and, you know, obviously he became the story in what was going on. And I think with that, with the details of whatever these ethics complaints are, I don't know the details of them, I think he just realized, look, I'm becoming the story. I'm distracting from what really needs to happen here. And the other thing is, you know, we're going on recess to go back in our districts, and I think he didn't want folks to have to answer those questions and instead to talk about our agenda. So I think from his perspective, he did the honorable thing to just step aside and say, let's let this settle.
Honorable, do you think it was the right move?
I think it was, well, that's for him to decide because it's subjective. I think, you know, it was honorable. It was probably the right thing because, again, he just said, look, I'm becoming the story. I don't want to be the story. People deserve a bipartisan investigation. They need to have faith it's getting done.
If he says he's stepping aside according to his statement because of this ethics investigation, they are investigating whether or not he possibly mishandled classified information. It does make you wonder, that's basically his entire job description. What he does as the chairman or even being a member of the committee is handling classified information. If that's being called into question, do you think he can be chairman of the committee at all while he's being investigated?
Oh, I think so. I mean, the committee does a huge, broad range of things, and but in terms of that, look, I don't know enough of the details of it. This is all news to me within, frankly, the last hour, so I don't really have enough to comment, but I will tell you that if, in fact, that's something he is concerned about, he'll handle it well, because this is a guy that's well into this. He understands the importance of the committee, and I think he's going to try to do the right, honorable thing.
Okay, Congressman, I do want to ask you about Syria and the chemical attack this week. You have been very clear on your position on this and your position on Bashar al-Assad. You want him out, and you want to see action from the United States. After the president's press conference yesterday, are you clear, though, on what the president's position is here?
Not really. I think he made it clear that he's not going to say what he's going to do. So, you know, obviously that puts some where people are murky about it. But I think he was very clear when he said two things. Number one, my opinion of Assad a week ago is different than my opinion of Assad today. Obviously, the chemical attack had a big part of that. And the other thing he talked about, this crosses many red lines. Now, I don't want to look too much into what that means he's going to do. But I think he understands that, look, we've never accepted chemical weapons on the battlefield since World War I until this conflict. We cannot, as the free world, allow this to stand without repercussions against the regime in the short term to say, if you use chemical weapons, not to mention all your other brutality, but if you use chemical weapons, the cost of your regime is going to far outweigh any benefit you think you get by choking children to death.
What do you want to hear from this president now, though?
I want to hear him be very clear. I thought his press conference yesterday was actually pretty good. I want to hear him be very clear in continuing to condemn these attacks. I hope he's formulating a military response. And again, that military response doesn't mean we fully engage in regime change, but it can force the parties to the table, and it inflicts massive punishment for dropping chemical weapons on children.
You need to see more. Like a lot of folks are saying that they need to hear at least what strategic objectives are from the position of the administration there. I had a fellow Republican of yours, a colleague of yours, fellow Republican Congressman Thomas Massie on yesterday. For our viewers, just to remind them, this is what he said about the attack.
I don't think it would have served Assad's purposes to do a chemical attack on his people. So it's hard for me to understand why he would do that if he did.
Congressman, he basically said he didn't really believe that Assad would do this. What do you say to that?
So, I mean, I was awestruck when I heard somebody say this. Literally took the talking points out of Putin's mouth and out of the regime's mouth and recited them to an American audience, despite the fact that the president and the American intelligence said it is not the regime and it is not Russia. That made me sick. Frankly, I was ashamed for him being a Republican saying something like that. It is obvious that ISIS did not steal these chemical weapons and steal an aircraft and drop it. Neither did the rebels. This was Assad. He has a history of doing this. He has no compassion for his people. That's why he drops precision-guided munitions on schools and hospitals. And I hope he recants that statement because it's very obvious who is behind this.
Congressman Adam Kinzinger, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You bet. Take care.